Welcome back, everybody. This is Michael Leveris from JurisQ.com with a divorce attorney with a very big neck for mediation. I know you're a big proponent of using mediation in a divorce proceeding. However, sometimes it's not appropriate. So since we're educating the public on mediation, let's tell the whole story. When is it not appropriate?
So there are a variety of reasons why mediation would not be appropriate. And I just, I can tell you from my own personal experience and based on, what I was trained as a mediator to look for when I'm mediating cases. One is the extreme hostility between the parties. Sometimes it's just counterproductive, and the parties really get in their own way of trying to mediate. The process has to be collaborative. In other words, everybody understands, and it's an inherent, kind of common knowledge. Divorce, if you're getting divorced because you're not in a happy place in your marriage, right? Nobody walks in through my doors as a mediator or a divorce lawyer if you're happy in your marriage.
Right.
So understandably, there's going to be to some extent, mistrust, hostility, or, just general dislike for the other person. And that's why you're there, because it's really things are just not working out, right? But there are levels to these sort of instances. So I've had, for instance, a couple that was so rude to one another and so over the top, including me in text messages and emails at, all hours of the night, really just inappropriate behavior, where at one point I had to let them both go. And I just said, look, I don't think this is a case that's appropriate for mediation. Or, perhaps the best way to do this is get attorneys involved and have the attorneys guide you both to some kind of a resolution so that you each have representation. Because neither one of them, in my opinion, use common courtesies or common, just knowledge, their heads in making wise decisions during the process. So that's a case that was not appropriate for mediation.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Another case that may not be appropriate as mediation is where there's no transparency, right? So, and again, degrees of everything. There's obviously some level of distrust in every divorce situation. Finances are a big part of any, divorce situation. And, there may be a level of distrust with respect to finances. And my job as a mediator is to help the parties get over that hump, right? Advise them that this is a, process that we have to have total transparency. And if one party doesn't believe what the other party is disclosing as far as their assets or their income, then I can offer up ways as a mediator to calm the waters. I can offer to use experts, for instance, forensic accountants or business valuators, so that we can sort of come to a mutual understanding about what those assets are worth or what they have. But if that distrust continues, or if one of the parties is really not being transparent about their finances, that is a case that is not appropriate for mediation. Because in those cases, you need to have full discovery. You need to really have, forensics involved, business forensics. You need to have accountants involved. And you ultimately really need to have a court make a decision about those things, especially if one person's not being transparent. Another situation where mediation is not appropriate is in a situation where there's not an equal balance of power between the parties. And that often happens with domestic violence and spousal abuse cases. And we as mediators are trained. In fact, we take a very extensive, training on this about spotting those pillars of where we think that there's domestic violence in a home, which ultimately would prevent both parties of being on the same playing ground of making decisions. Because in a domestic violence situation, it's always about maintaining some kind of level of control over the other spouse. So in a mediated setting, that cannot work out. Those kind of cases are as well probably not appropriate for mediation.
Alan, really thank you for your frankness and transparency because although you do advocate strongly for mediation, you gave us examples when it is not appropriate and when you have to go through real litigation. And I understand your office does handle litigation as well. if need be.
Absolutely. I handle both mediation and litigation.
Okay. Okay, Alla, thank you again so much. If anybody has any questions, you want to talk to Alla Kurolapnik about your case, you're contemplating divorce, I think it's very important even before filing, even thinking about filing. If you think you're on a path towards a separation or divorce, I think it's important to talk to an attorney timely about the steps to undertake. So if you have any questions, your advice, your second opinion, call the phone number on the bottom of the screen for Alla Kurolapnik, a divorce attorney. Alla, thank you so much. Thank you everybody for listening in, for watching our podcast, and we're gonna come back to you again with another question on partial use of mediators. Sometimes you can give the whole case over to mediators. You can go to litigation, or you can partially use mediators in a divorce. We'll describe how that would work. Thank you and have a great day.